Today's video is brought to you by I haven't washed my hair yet today and there's some sort of noisy machine outside. So these are my 3 tips for a college freshman, and I think they could also be applicable to other students in college as well, but more specific to freshmen. And I know that these are just very few, a very small portion of the tips that a college freshman probably needs to hear. But these are the tips that I found to be the most difficult to grasp, difficult to understand, difficult to accept. So here they are, the 3 tips. Okay, so the first tip is to, and I still have trouble doing this, but try to focus more on the present rather than the future. And this is difficult, especially in college, because I know a lot of us are kind of trying to navigate our way, it's a time in our lives when we're trying to figure out what we want to do for the rest of our lives, the rest of the 40, 50, 60 years of, well, hopefully, I don't know if you'll be working when you're 80, I don't know, maybe. But anyway, so it's a long time trying to choose, or it's a long time to be working, and I know for me, I didn't want to mess up and choose something that I don't really want to do, and I end up doing it for decades and just unhappy. So there was a lot of pressure there. So I constantly thought about the future, thought about kind of what my next move was, what I wanted, what kind of my trajectory was. And I think I missed a lot of kind of the present. I thought so much about the future I didn't really appreciate. I kind of took for granted the right now, and that talking about events and people and classes and stuff like that. So I would recommend, instead of thinking, obviously it's important to think about your future, but I think it's also important to spend some time and think about, take a look back and say, this is where I am right now. I'm in my dorm room, I'm chilling with my roommates. This is it. This is what I'm doing right now. Instead of, when you're doing the same thing, but you're thinking about, oh God, like, what kind of homework do I have tomorrow? Like, that's probably important to do, but like, just take a second to forget about that and just think about where you're at and what you're doing right now and the people you're with, because 4 years goes by pretty quickly. So, don't take it for granted. The next one is to don't be afraid to dislike something or someone. Yeah. So when I entered college, I thought that I had to absolutely love the things that I'm doing. Like, I absolutely had to love the classes I was taking and the clubs I joined. Like, it was wrong somehow for me not to like something. And I didn't want to, especially with my major, I didn't want to get into a major and not like it and then realize that I didn't like it and then I was just stuck in it. I didn't want to change my major. I thought that was really, I didn't want to, it was like admitting that I was wrong. And it was the same with clubs. I would join a club and then I really realized I didn't like it, but I didn't want to end it because I was afraid that I didn't want to be wrong. But one of my college advisors said that it's as important to realize what you don't like as it is to realize what you do like. And so I would say, it's so important to experiment and try to see what you do like in college. Really think outside the box, join clubs, do activities, meet people that you wouldn't necessarily, would have hung out with in high school or your younger years or whatever, or take classes that you didn't think aren't aligned with your major, and try to see if you like it. And you may not like it, and don't be worried if you don't like it, because again, it's important to realize what you don't like, so you can kind of cross that off the list and say, okay, well, I'm going to try this other thing, see if I like it. But there's really no harm, no foul in trying something you don't like. Okay, so the last tip is probably the most difficult for me to say because it's contradictory to everything that I was taught when I was a kid, and that is that grades are not nearly as important as one may think. So I'll explain this. Instead of thinking, especially in college classes, I think if you go into it thinking, I'm taking this class to get a grade, or worse, I'm taking this class, maybe not worse, but still along the same lines, I'm taking this class to get a degree. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting that degree. Why am I getting that degree? I'm getting my degree to work in this certain job field. I think that's a really wrong, incorrect way of thinking. I think what you need to think about is that you are taking this class to learn. That's like the fundamental, I mean, it's a learning institute. That's what colleges are. You learn at them. So I think and this is something that I wish I would have done, I didn't really do. I caught on to it my senior year. And that's to realize that you're in these classes to learn. That's the most important part. It's not about the grade, it's about the learning. And you are learning in order to gather the skills and knowledge to be able to succeed at your future career. So it's not necessarily about getting the grade to get the degree or the piece of paper to get the job. It's about getting the knowledge, getting the skills to one, get the degree, because you need the skills and knowledge to get the degree, but then you also need the skills and knowledge to get the job and to do well at the job. So that's it. That's what college is about.